One of these days we'll get it right. It
What
never
do you
works
mean?
for me. At least. It never plays all the way for me. It like stutters. Maybe it's
Oh,
just
well, it
my.
doesn't matter for you.
Oh well, you know what? It kind of does. I kind of like
Well,
to
no,
see it.
no. It doesn't matter for you because they only see what I see, and it goes all the way
Oh,
through for me.
okay. All right. Well, hey everybody, welcome to Talking Nerds. I do need to update that though with the new logo. I have not done
Yeah,
that yet.
yeah.
So
I've got
I gotta.
the, producer's cut, and I'm a little
Yes.
behind on the updates, so you gotta send me that new logo.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, hey everybody, welcome. We're back. Bluey's back.
Hey.
Woo! Yeah. Um, what have you been up to, man? It's just us
Um,
tonight. So
yeah. Well, I finished Song of Ice and Fire book 1. I
nice.
did it. It's, like, almost
A
40 hours
game,
long.
a Game of Thrones, not just Game of Thrones. A Game of Thrones.
Yes. I well, obviously finished HotD, which is what we're here for today.
Yeah, this is
Um,
true.
haven't done a lot of gaming, unfortunately.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's just been kind of, busy work last couple of weeks. But,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
hoping to get back into it because you've been
I've been
working too.
going too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in
What do
Denver
you
last week.
What have you been up to? How's that?
It was pretty good. Yeah, it was a show. I feel like business travel is always like over glorified because you spend most of your time in an airport, a plane, a hotel, a convention center, and some restaurants, and an Ubers. You don't actually like see the area you're in ever, particularly. But
Yeah.
it's fun to get out. It gets kind of sad when you're in a hotel room by yourself 3 days in a row, and you're like, I kind of just want to go.
Well, don't you have a
But-
Steam Deck?
so that's funny. I had my Steam Deck. I didn't have a, you're super busy during a show, so like any work that you have to get done during the day, you usually have to do at night. So I was kind of busy with work for most of the nights, but Friday night was my last night. The show was over. I was flying home the next day. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna play some God of War or Elden Ring or something, which I'll get to my thoughts on Elden Ring
Oh, uh-oh.
in a second. Um, so I pulled up, I got my Steam Deck up, and I started playing God of War, and it kept crashing on me. And some games on the Steam Deck aren't like uh supported yet, like if they
Or
crash, there's no
optimized?
support. Yeah, and they're not optimized. But God of War was one of the games that was optimized, and it kept freezing up on me. I couldn't exit the game. I couldn't turn off the Steam Deck. I don't know what was happening. So I tried it like 2 or 3 times, and it was the same deal every time. So I'm like, all right, I guess I can't play God of War, which was the one game I wanted to play. Um, so then I tried some Elden Ring, and I'm like, I'm on the final boss of the DLC. I'm just not motivated anymore. And the controls are so weird on a Steam Deck compared to my Xbox controller. So I was like, I'm not feeling this. I can't get the rhythm. I'm not doing any damage to freaking Radon. He's just giving me a wedgie. He like one shots the Black Knife Tish every single time, which is so annoying. So I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe I'll play some Witcher 3. That can't be bad. And then I remembered I'm on Death March, which is the hardest difficulty. And I'm also used to mouse and keyboard for Witcher. So I was like totally backwards on the controls. Um, so I was like, I give up. I'm not playing games. I'm just totally out of the mood right now. So I got to find a good game for Steam Deck. Maybe Hogwarts. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe some Lego Star Wars. Uh,
Ooh.
It Takes Two actually works pretty well on it, but you
Oh,
need 2 people, obviously. So
you need Gracie.
yeah, right. I started playing with Nick actually. He likes it. So,
Good.
but of course he never plays games, so it's kind of hard to find
Right.
time to do that. But yeah, so that was my gaming last week, which was kind of a bummer. But I got back Saturday, and actually last week I just watched Harry. I was like hyped for Orlando, so I watched the first 3 Harry Potter movies. I'm like, yeah, I'm like stoked for this. This is it feels right to rewatch Harry
Oh
Potter
yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I did that. I don't know if I'll watch all of them before Orlando. I don't know if I'll have time, but at least got some of the nostalgic ones. Um so yeah, so I did that last week, and then Saturday I got home. I always like to unpack everything, clean up, like it feels like a fresh start kind of, I usually clean my room when I get home from a trip. Just kind of make it feel like I'm productive. And then I played God of War for I don't know, 6 hours. So that was pretty fun. I got pretty far in that.
I mean, you
So
played for 6 hours, I sure hope so.
yeah, yeah. I'm super stoked for Ragnarok now. I think I'm just gonna go right into that probably after I finish this. But yeah, it's like a great game. I gotta say, I don't know why I like waited so long to play it. It's fun, and now I really want to play the original God of Wars, because in 2018 you start with the axe, but eventually you get your Blades of Chaos back. And I've been using the Blades of Chaos. I'm like, dude, these are awesome. And those are your weapons for, all of the original series. So yeah, I'm really into God of War right now. I think that's up there. That's some of my favorite games I've played so far. So yeah, that's what I did. Got back into some more Doctor Who, and I was gonna play, or I was gonna watch Batman the Woke Crusader. But then I was
Uh-oh.
like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna
Why would
watch
I
it.
ruin this perfectly great night with that?
Exactly, exactly. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna ruin BTAS for myself. You already got Rings of Power season 2 coming out pretty soon. I'm not gonna watch 2
Dude.
bad shows at once. So screw it. I'm not watching it. I also decided not to see Borderlands either, which we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, lots of bad stuff coming out. I think since the last time we were on, well, I watched Deadpool, which we talked about last time, which you still got to
Mhm.
watch.
I do, I need to get out.
There's a lot of mixed reviews. It made $1 billion in its opening
Yeah.
weekend, or
I've actually managed to stay
made a
pretty
billion dollars
spoiler
now.
free.
Yeah. Well, we spoiled a lot last episode, so good thing you weren't
Right.
there. Um, but yeah, so I liked it personally. A lot of people, it's not a great movie or like plot, but there's a lot of fan servicey things, which again, it's like, okay, I love those things, but at the same time, I realize that it's just like a distraction to how bad the MCU is, and it's just trying to get you to like the MCU again. And it's like, I'm not gonna fall for this, you know?
Well, Ryan Reynolds said it's not that.
Right.
He said,
Yeah.
"I'm not trying to, like, say that MCU is coming back. This is just a love letter to the fans
Yes.
and my
But
friends."
at the same time, it still feels like a Disney Deadpool. Like it's
Ooh.
not the same as the original 2. So it's not as good. There's a lot of cool stuff in it, and I had fun. I laughed a lot. I clapped, which is
Oh.
rare. I did clap a couple times. But it was still very Disney, and it was like, okay, these are some stupid jokes in here that are like you're trying to make fun of yourself, but it just looks pathetic and dumb and cringy. So, but anyways, I won't get into that. You should go see that. But I did go see Twisters since the last podcast. That was actually pretty good. I mean, it wasn't great. It was like a popcorn movie, it was kind of silly, but no politics, no global warming stuff. It was just a fun popcorn movie that was kind of cheesy, but like enjoyable. The main characters, like the female main character didn't like drag down the male character and make him look like a simp or anything or stupid. They complimented each other, you know.
Mhm. Mm.
Glenn Powell was great. So yeah, it was good. It was good. I actually really liked it.
Nice.
Um, not that it's anything amazing, you know, but it was fine.
But at this
Um,
point in the entertainment, anything that's just okay is wonderful.
which is really sad, isn't it?
Breath of
It's like
fresh air.
wow, our standards are so low now.
Which sucks because, like, that you might feel that way about, like, Mario, you
Yeah,
know? Like, what if Mario came out in, like, the golden age of,
it wouldn't have been as
you
good.
know, MCU? It might not have been as good.
No, probably not. Um, yeah, I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine would have been really dumb if it came out during or you know,
Yeah.
Infinity War, Civil War, all those. Yeah,
That would have
for sure.
been the warning light or the warning flag for the
Right.
fall.
A lot of people are trying to claim it's like, oh, it's like Spider-Man: No Way Home, you know. It's
Mm.
no, not at all,
No.
not at all.
No. Not having it.
No, 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 not really. And I can't really get into why until you see it, but
Yeah.
you might understand when you see it. Um, so yeah, and then last 2 days ago, I saw Trap, which is
Ooh. Horror?
no, not at all.
Oh.
It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. You've seen M. Night movies, right?
Oh. Oh, you said that in the group chat.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have. Name
Sixth
some of it.
Sense, Signs, The Village,
I've
Lady in the
seen The Village.
Water. Yeah, so, I mean, his only good movies are, like, Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. Split was okay.
Oh, I've seen Split.
The Village was nostalgic for me, so same with Signs, but they're both bad movies.
Mm.
And he's not a great director, and he puts himself in every one of his movies, which is so stupid and egotistic in my opinion, but, like and it's not like just like, "Oh, if you look like" it's not like Peter Jackson where it's like, "Oh, there he is." It's like,
He's the main
I'm gonna
character.
make myself a character that, like, yeah, has a lot of screen time. It's just like, "Shut up, dude." Sometimes he makes himself, like, the pinnacle character too, which is so dumb.
It's like,
Um,
"Cut, cut, cut." It's like, "Dude, you're in the scene. Cut."
yeah, and
Alright,
it's not like
action.
movies yeah, it's not like movies where it's like the main character is the director too, you know? There's a lot of guys Ben Stiller does that.
Right.
Um,
But those are like those aren't like
yeah,
I mean,
I mean
comedies are different, I feel like.
well, not even that, like, Ben Affleck does that, George Clooney does that, you know, a lot of those guys do that, which is fine because
But don't they
they're already big
produce?
actors.
They don't
They're already
direct,
big
right?
actors. Sometimes they direct, sometimes
Mm.
they do. Like Tom Cruise does that.
Yeah, but Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise.
Exactly,
His
that's what I'm
stunt
saying.
he does his own stunts.
They're all good actors already, and so now they're getting into directing. But, like,
Yeah.
when you're just a director and then you're trying to act and you're just an awful actor, it doesn't work the same way. It just looks stupid,
Mm.
you know? Um, but yeah, anyways, so I thought it was really dumb, very cringy. I did kinda wanna see where it was going, but at every turn it was like, "Ugh, this is so stupid." So, I don't recommend going see to see that. It was, yeah, it was pretty bad. Um, but whatever. It was like a fun date night popcorn movie, you know? So, I'll give it that.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, so that's kinda I've been seeing some movies, haven't gotten back into any, My Hero, but I do want to. I've been getting the itch. I'm like, "Dang, I really wanna watch My Hero," but I also, like, super into Doctor Who right now. It's just hard to juggle it all, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, anyways, I think that's about it. I think that's about it.
Nice.
I got a 3-star Eevee in Pokemon Go last week, so I got a, what's the black one? The dark one?
Umbreon?
I got an Umbreon, yeah. Turned it into an Umbreon, so that was pretty fun.
Nice.
Been waiting for one of those for a while now. I think I have, like, 3 more to go till I have all of them, 3 or 4. So,
Nice.
uh, yeah. And I think I got some comics a couple weeks ago, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to Fan Expo Chicago this Saturday with Buffalo Bick. No Bluey this time.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, Buffalo Bick and I will be going. So I'll probably do some reels. And super excited. Probably will buy some more comics as usual and maybe get some other stuff. We still have to play that Japanese game. I have it in my backpack still.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
dude.
Yep.
I
I
forgot we all
forgot about
pitched in.
it. Yeah. So we should play next time we're all together.
Yeah, because it's gonna help us learn Japanese.
Right. Because we're going to Japan in
Right.
a year and a half.
Yep.
We'll see.
What?
Our women
No,
don't
we
think
can't
it's
have
gonna
any
be
doubt from you. We've already got it
no.
from the women.
No doubt. No doubt. We're
No
going.
doubt, we're going.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm super excited. So
I'm
actually
pumped.
next year, potentially. So the show I was just at is in Denver. I'm going to a show again in next month, and Bluey's actually going to be there. We're going to be going. It's in Orlando. We're going to Universal. Super
Yeah, we are.
excited. Next year, the two shows that I went to this year are swapping places. So the one in Denver this year is going to be in Orlando next year in July, and next year Epic Universe opens at Universal. So I'm probably gonna do it. Bluey, you're welcome if you can. But
Well,
hey,
well, 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 also, you'll be married in July,
I
right?
will be married. I'll be married for like less than
So
a month at that
so
point. So great.
double
Yeah.
double date trip?
Yes. Yes. Unless you have kids by then, who knows? Probably not.
What does that have to do with going or not?
You're just gonna leave a baby behind.
Find a babysitter. Or bring it
No.
with, get it
Well, yeah.
acclimated to Harry Potter.
Or just wait a bit, and then if you get pregnant between now and then, she'll just be pregnant then. That's no
Mhm,
big deal.
mhm.
But yeah, so that'll be next July. And then the show I'm going to in Orlando this year is in Denver next year. So I'll be back in Denver again next year, potentially. And then I'm
Is there
going
anything cool
to,
in Denver for Nerdum?
yes, well, kind of. So, and I almost went to it this time, but I didn't. The biggest comic book shop in the world is there. Mile High Comics. It's literally a whole factory. But the owner's super duper woke. Like extremely woke. Everything is
Oh,
rainbow there. So I was like, I don't know. I guess I won't go. But
we
I
should
could have.
open a
I was like
talking
10
nerds
minutes away from there.
we should open a talking nerd shop, like gaming and
Yeah,
comic
dude,
shop, and then run
it,
tournaments and stuff.
it would be fun, but I don't want to sell like current stuff though. It'd be like all back issues and like old stuff,
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I
Like,
could be
just go
gaming.
go to, like, well, yeah, you wouldn't make a lot of your money off of, like, the comics and stuff,
Nobody
but
does anymore anyways. So
right, but you become, like, a hotspot for, like, Magic the Gathering, D&D, gaming tournaments, and then you just
yeah,
pay an entry fee for stuff and just run, like, a tournament a day of some sort, or, like,
that
a
would be
weekly
fun.
league or something.
That'd be pretty cool. We should make it
Dude,
happen.
gotta start making some money here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, we'll see how the United States is in a few years. Who
Yeah,
knows?
how about a few months?
Yeah, right, true. Um, but anyways, so yeah, so I'll be there, and then I'm obviously going on my honeymoon next year. So beginning of July, I'll be in Hawaii. End of July, I'll be in Florida. Crazy. And then I'm
Top of
going
the month.
to Germany next October, and then I'm going to Japan in December. So within 6 months, I'm going to be going to 6 different places, 2 out of the country. So
I mean, that's what me and
or
Ange did when we got
five.
married. We
Yeah,
traveled, like, a ton. We went to Hawaii for our honeymoon, we went to Europe in May,
that's
the May
true.
after, and then we
Yeah,
went to Morocco in August.
that's a good point. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Not 6 places, but
Yeah.
all international.
Right.
Except for Hawaii. Hawaii feels international though, but it's not.
It does. It's such a long flight, so
It's a
it's
halfway to Asia, which is
yeah.
crazy. So imagine the Hawaii flight and double it, and that's what you're getting to Japan.
I know. I'm assu well, yeah, I mean, I bet it'll be a nonstop, but if it is
From
layover,
O'Hare, you could, but we might lay over in San Fran.
yeah, probably. That's true.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited, though. I'm super duper
yeah,
excited for Japan.
me too.
Um, but yeah, anyways, yeah, bunch of places, things happening, all that jazz. Um, but anyway, so Borderlands came out. Crickets.
Ooh,
Oof. Oof. Um, so it had like an estimated, what is it, 120 to 140 million dollar budget. 120. Let's give it 120. Let's just say it was 120. It made domestically a little over 9 million opening weekend.
talk about the ratings, the
Big oof.
pre-showing ratings.
Pre-showing, it had a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what it is now. I don't even know. Yeah, 0%. This is a lot of people are saying this is the biggest flop in cinema history. It is that bad. It
Well,
is
yeah,
not.
well, people
It's
compared it to Mobius,
yeah. It's Morbin.
and
It's
what
Borden time.
else?
People are saying Madam Web was better than this. Like not even performance wise, but also just as the movie, it
Yeah.
was more enjoyable. It wasn't funny. There was like no plot. The director didn't even care that it was a video game. Like every time they asked him
So
like, "Oh,
they gave it the Halo treatment, which is another news
yes,
I don't know if you mentioned, but they canceled Halo.
I did hear about that." Yeah, they did. Not that I cared, but they
Well,
did.
me neither, because I stopped,
Yeah.
but
I never even watched one episode. But yeah, not surprised. Um, but yeah, so the director of this, he kept comparing it to like, oh, like what was like your like thought process? What was your like kind of like what would you call it? Inspiration, all that stuff. And he kept talking about all these movies. He's like, it's like he kept bringing Gangs of New York up for some reason. It's like I really wanted to make like a sci-fi like dystopian. It's like, like, don't you want to make a Borderlands movie? Make it
so
like Borderlands? He's like, no,
so
but
he
like
just
Mad
wanted
Max.
the IP to cover for what he wanted to do with it.
Well, I mean, he didn't even write it. I don't even know what really like. I think he just kind of picked it up. I don't really know the whole story there, but Disparu did a whole video on it, which was fantastic. Um, the but even worse than him was the creator of the video games. He was on Twitter literally responding to every single comment about the movie and all negative, and he got all pissed about it. And he was like he kept saying like well, okay, first of all, the director kept like his response to negative feedback was like, "Have you seen the movie? What was wrong with it?" Like that's what he said every time. I was like, "Dude, yes, we've seen the movie. That's why people are saying things to you negatively." Like, what do you mean? Have you seen? That's not a response. That's not a question. Like a no, that's not a rebuttal. So that was
That's
funny. But
not a
then
gotcha moment.
no, it's not. It's like, have you seen the movie, dude? Um, but on the opposite side, so the creator of the video games kept getting pissed at people for being upset about the movie, and it's like, dude, these are fans of the video game that are upset. You would have nothing to do with this. You didn't make the movie. You made the game, the games that that people liked. And you know what? This is giving press to the games. The games are kind of old now. People are gonna start playing them again. Like this is not bad for you. So why are you getting upset? He went so far as to say like stop talking about it. It's like why would you like as a
Wait,
creator of
so
an IP tell people to stop talking about your IP?
he didn't like the movie?
I don't really I don't even know if he, like, actually saw it. Like, he was just getting mad at people's comments about it, and people
You're
are
just mad at them for bringing the movie up?
yeah, well, there was something like, he tried to give his full support to it, but it's like, "Dude, this isn't your like, it has nothing to do with your games." Like, literally, it doesn't even follow your games, so you really have nothing to get upset about. And he kept saying, like, he was too busy to, like, watch, like, critiques or something of it, but, like, he did have time to respond to every single comment on Twitter about it. It's like, dude, you're insane. Um, so yeah, it's so funny. It's so stupid. It's like both sides, they're just retards, but um this has gotta be uh Cl Kate Blanchett's worst movie. Um, I mean, there's a saying like you're only as good as your last movie, right? I mean, this is her last movie. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, um, she apparently was awful. She was another Mary Sue, like there's nothing wrong with her. Turns out it was somebody else's fault that she had problems and she unlocked her full potential. It was one of those scenarios. Um, it, yeah, it was just bad overall. I have no intention of
Kevin
seeing.
Hart was in it too?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about his character though. I've heard well, Jack Black plays the robot, and
Crap.
yeah, and apparently he was like extremely annoying, and it was a lot of like sexual jokes like the entire time, um, which gets old, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I gotta turn on my fan because it's getting really hot in here. So have you played the games before? You talk.
Yeah. So, I have played a little bit of Borderlands 3, um, and to be honest, I kind of thought Claptrap was annoying in the games,
Yeah,
but, um, but I'm not a big fan of, like, those yapping characters to begin with.
right. It's like BB-8 with a voice.
Kind of,
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not really a big fan of that, and it feels like
but
everything IP has some annoying droid now.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, I felt like from what I know about the game and, um, from the little that I've played, like, I don't really didn't see why sorry,
Bless you.
I didn't see why there needed to be a movie, or how a movie could
Well,
be
I
done.
mean, dude, look at the movie roster this year. It's all sequels and prequels and remakes.
Yeah,
Literally every single movie this year
or a
is a
live action adaption
or well,
adaptation.
yeah, a remake.
Yeah,
I can't think of a single original movie this year. Trap, I guess, which was stupid. I mean, horror movies are kind of always original. So let's
yeah.
take the horror genre out. There's not a single new movie this year, which is sad. Um, yeah, I mean, we talked about. Well, yeah, whatever. So, anyways, it's made 16.9 million worldwide. So that's including international box office. So it's safe to say it's not going to do well. Right now, it's sitting at 9% on Rotten Tomatoes for critics, which is hilarious because even the good critics, even like the fresh reviews, are still like just barely fresh, like 2.5, out of 5, which gives you barely fresh. And those people still aren't even saying good things about it, uh, which is so funny. Um, here's a review, a 6 out of 10. This is the score. So it's fresh. It's not as bad as you think, but it's not good either. Like, just give it a bad score. Here's another one, 3 out of 5. Borderlands is not a good movie, but it is a prime example of how intelligently non-intelligent life existed and exists in unintelligent science fiction, where the misses are more interesting than the occasional hits.
What?
That was translated from Spanish, but
Oh.
um Yeah. There were some funny ones in here, but yeah, I mean nobody's happy with this. Comic or video game fans are not happy with this. And neither are movie fans, you know, it like whatever audience side you're on, nobody's happy with this. It's got a
Yeah.
53% audience score, which isn't great still. So it's safe to say this is a flop. Um, and I will not be seeing it. So
Yep.
I set my standards high.
As you should.
As you should. Another not so great thing came out recently. Batman, the woke Crusader. And there was an article on Bounding into Comics that I saw, but I heard this on Twitter. Bruce Timm. This came from Bruce Timm, which is I guess he claims that he always wanted to kind of be woke, but like it wasn't the right time in the 90s. It's like
If
okay.
that's not virtue signaling, I don't know what is.
I know, right? I mean, okay, realistically though, I feel like to be in these industries most of the time, I shouldn't say all the people because I know a lot of legendary comic book creators who are super based. Graham Nolan, uh, Kelly, what's his name? Kelly, the guys who wrote Batman, frick. I'm totally blanking right now. Nightfall.
Hmm.
And some classic Batman comics. They're super based, but there are a lot of people in Hollywood and comic book writing and all of these different industries obviously are we're always kind of progressive, right? Um but woke is different, you know, it's completely different and it's just an agenda. It's just a message to I don't know if all these people are actually that way or they're just trying to keep their jobs, but it's like I mean, I don't know if I should feel bad for these guys because it's like you're kind of stuck in the middle where you want to write, you love the industry, you love comics, you love the cartoons, the characters, the lore, the IPs, and you have to put up with this stuff. And you gotta you well, you don't have to, but you always bend the knee to it. But it's like, but you're not making any money. You know, you're letting your IP, your beloved IPs die. So it's
Right.
like, I don't know if I should feel bad for them or it's like, this is what you get, you know, for choosing that side. That's, you know, that's what you get, I guess.
Yeah.
But the showrunner, Bruce
Consequences.
Timm, what'd you say?
Consequences.
Yes, exactly. So Bruce Timm, him and, uh, holy crap. I'm so bad with names. I've always been notoriously, BTAS writers. I think it's, Paul, it's right. Paul Dini. It's right at the tip of my tongue. So Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, they wrote the Batman the Animated Series. So Bruce Timm is back for this show with Jar Jar Abrams and Matt Reeves, who directed the Batman. Which, by the way, I don't think that's getting a sequel. I doubt it.
Oh,
I doubt James Gunn is gonna actually let that happen. So, did you see the trailer for Penguin? By the way,
nope.
it looks
I
so
just
bland.
been I I've just been kinda staying away from social
Trailers.
media and trailers
Oh,
and stuff just because also, um, I'm being wary with Deadpool, like, haven't watching it. That's how I've
yeah, that's a good point.
maintained being away.
That's true. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, it looks pretty bland. Uh Colin Farrell's act. It's like uh Jedi Master Soul in the Acolyte. It's like you poor thing, you're acting your heart out for this terrible, terrible show. But I don't know. It could be good. Who knows? I actually like the Batman, so who knows? It might be actually be good. But the thing about all these shows is like you're creating all these offshoots without the main character. How
Right.
can you make a Batman show without Batman? You know, it's so stupid. Um, that's the annoying part of all these big universes, cinematic universes. Like, just have the characters that people like. Who cares about all these other ones?
Right.
But anyway, so I'm just I just really don't want to talk about this. But we should. Showrunner Bruce Timm says Penguin was gender swapped, which we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Because one of the problems with Batman as he is there's a lack of good villains.
Yep. Mhm.
Which is so crazy coming from Bruce Timm. I'm like, dude, did you even watch Batman the animated series? Batman's got the best villains. You're out of your mind. And if they're trying to say that female villains are good, like if that's what it's trying to say, that is whack. That is insane. I think even wokies would disagree with like what
Yeah.
Joker is a bad villain now because he's a guy. But regardless, you have plenty of great female villains.
Mhm.
Obviously not a bunch are like his big rogue gallery in the big rogue gallery, you know. But you got Poison Ivy, Catwoman at times. I don't like Harley Quinn, but you got Harley Quinn. Um, and there's several other ones. Talia al Ghul. So that's just like on all our sides of this argument, it's pathetic. It's just like, dude, what are you doing? You're just grasping for something, you know? So he was the Penguin was gender swapped because both he and series executive producer James Tucker felt the Dark Knight lacked good villains. Uh Provided this insight into his creative process while speaking, blah blah blah. Okay. Asked by as to why he made the choice. James and I were talking about the overview of the show. One of the problems with Batman is there's lack of good villains. You got Catwoman, you got Poison Ivy, you got Harley Quinn, but it would be really good to have more female villains. Why? You got great ones right there. You don't need any more. But a really good. Okay, in the top of my head, I said we never really could figure out exactly what to do with Penguin, with what the gimmick for the Penguin would be. What if we gender swapped? So the thing about the Penguin is he's disgusting. You hate him. He's grimy. In this, they made her like a lovable character. Everybody loves the Penguin. Everybody's in love with the Penguin. Which, by the way, just seeing the picture, I'm like, how? But it's just absurd. It's just so stupid. I like the Penguin. Great character. It's
Yeah.
not hard to do. You don't need to just do what that's another problem. You know, kind of continuing what we just talked about with Borderlands. You don't need to create something new. Just do what they already have. It's so good as it is. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. So, anyways, doesn't matter because it's not canon to me. I'm not watching this stupid show. Uh, but it's not like these characters are not big, too. You know, Poison Ivy's huge. Catwoman is huge.
Mhm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, that's Batman the Woke Crusader. So, Hot D season 2. It's all out now. And what are your initial thoughts on it?
Um, had its moments. Um, and could have been better. Quite a
Yeah,
bit better.
I agree. I think it's interesting. George really wanted it to be 4 seasons for some reason. You probably could have done it in 3. Because it's like, why? Because we got to wait 2 years for in between each season, which is
Mhm.
absurd. So you're gonna make us wait that long for the end of the show. But then you also, by doing that, are shortening each season. So it's only 8
Right.
episodes, which is bad because of how you pace things. We got one. Now look, I'm not gonna be that guy. This is why season 8 sucked. This is why season 7 arguably sucked. Even parts of season 6. Game of Thrones is not about just battles. That's not what Game of Thrones is about. In the name of itself, Game of Thrones, it's about politics. It's about
Mhm.
um, backstabbing and the drama. It's a drama. It's an HBO
Political.
show, right? So I'm not here to just get all action, but like the way you set it up in this season is is a payoff that we don't get, and it's just like it was really great, except for a few things here and there, until the very end, and then they just drop the ball hard. Like with that conversation between Rhaenyra and Allison, it's like,
Mhm.
what are you doing? It felt like it wasn't as bad as season 8, where it's like you're just kind of rewriting characters suddenly. You're just like kind of
Yeah.
reverting their arcs, but it was kind of like that in a way with especially, well, yeah, with both of them, honestly. Rhaenyra didn't do. It's like, why are we like? It feels like they really want us to root for Rhaenyra, and it's like she did nothing wrong. Suddenly, it's like, no, she did a lot wrong. A lot of this is her fault too. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be here if she wasn't like a whore, essentially. And yeah, Allison's okay. She's a bad mother, but her whole motivation is her children. She wouldn't just give up her son like that. And she was willing to
But
give up both of her sons too.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. But I will say, I think my problem was, like, who else was obsessed about with their kids in Thrones?
Um, what do you mean?
Who is another character that their whole motivation was children?
Oh, in Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Cersei, I guess?
Right. So now it's like Alicent has that same drive, but, not like she does it in a different, like, she's just not involved enough, I think. Like, Cersei wanted to be queen, right? Like, she wanted the power,
Yeah.
um, and, like, she didn't want it until, like, she wanted her kids to have it, and then once, all of her kids died, um, now she's like, "Well, nobody can have it," right? So she turned into a mess.
Right.
Um, Allison is more like, yes, she's about her kids, but she's really not. She just says she is.
No, she does care about Helena. She cares about Helena. She realizes how awful she was to Aegon, and she corrected that when after he got burned. But now suddenly that whole like scene where she's like, you know, hovering over him, and everything she dealt with Aemond, it just doesn't make sense for her to be like, okay, yeah, sure, you can chop my son's head off, which doesn't really fit Rhaenyra anyways. Like this entire time she's been trying, she's been like famously, infamously, I guess, at not making any decisions because she's like, I don't want to start a war. And then suddenly she's like, yeah, but I got to chop his head off. It's like, you don't have to, you
She
know?
knows. You know what? I want his head. A
I want
son
his head.
for a
I want him
son.
mounted. I want to feed it to Vermithor. So, anyways, we'll get to that. So let's kind of start from the beginning. First episode, A Son for a Son. Um, This was a pretty slow start. Um, we'll kind of go through it here. Uh, so right off the bat, we get the wall in the north, which was really cool. I actually really liked that.
Yeah.
Cregan Stark is pretty dope.
Don't
Literally
get to
one of the
see him much.
first. No, you don't get to see him much, but he's probably gonna be in the next season. But again, it's gonna be 2 freaking years. But um, it was cool. We got to see ice again. We got to see the wall and a little bit of Winterfell. And he said winter is coming, which
Winter
was
is
dope.
coming.
That wasn't the only time we heard it this season. We heard it in High Valerian as well, which was pretty dope. Which I
Yes.
kind of want to talk about because it's not the same winter that is in Game of Thrones. It's a different winter because winters come and go, you know. But
Right.
I think they're talking about the long winter. I think he's
Well, and
still talking about
also
the long
it's
winter, but it's
it's
kind of
also
confusing.
like House Stark's saying. So,
Yes, yes, yes. Um, yeah. So it has a different meaning, but I guess it had a different meaning when Damon said it too. But we'll get
yeah.
to that. So yeah, so that was fun. And we it basically kind of picks up like right after season 1, after Vagar ate no, not Jace. Jace is the older one. Luke.
Lucerys.
Lucerys, yeah. And it's funny because Jace has long hair now. Like in his flight to Winterfell, he grew long hair. I thought that was kind of funny. He looks better with the long hair, but it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
kind of like, wait, what? This is why we can't do 2 years between season, guys. Which I get it. It was the whole strike, but whatever. Um, so yeah, so that was cool. Of course, he finds out that his brother died. Um, Later in that episode, we get a scene between Jace and Rhaenyra. I believe that was first episode. I'm pretty sure. And yes, it was a nice reunion. Rhaenyra didn't talk a lot in this episode. She found the body of Luke, and it was kind of a sad moment, not only for her but also for the Cyrax, because I think Luke's dragon was Cyrax's. Is Cyrax a guy or a girl? I can't even,
I think Cyrax is a girl.
because some people are saying it's a male dragon, but I don't really know. But
I don't
it's
remember.
some
I'm not very
form.
good at remembering anything about the dragons except their
All I
name.
know is Vagar is a grandma,
Right.
and Vermithor is totally a dude. um, but yeah, so I think I heard somewhere that Luke's dragon was descended in some way, probably either the son of Cyrax.
Yeah.
So Cyrax was also mourning the death of her or his son as well. So that was kind of interesting. You can kind of hear the dragon. And it's really interesting the different connections they have, between the rider and the dragon.
Mhm.
Um, we get a scene between Rhaenys and Daemon. Daemon's like, I like that scene because it kind of had a nice payoff from the worst episode of season 1 where Rhaenys just stomped on all those people. And it was like, "Ugh, what are you doing?" This is kind of like the opposite of, and then she like acted like she was high and mighty
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rest of that season. But
'Cause
so
she
that was
broke
kind of
through the sept?
in the, what, I guess the dragon keep underneath. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
came
Right.
up. I don't even know what the building is called. Maybe it is a sept, but no, I don't think the sept. Well, I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Basically, the one that they copied from Shrek.
Yes, exactly. I've been seeing a lot of those parallels. It's pretty funny. Um, but yeah, so and she's like, he basically says something to her about it, and then calls her out, and then he commands her to fly with him, and he's just like, "You're not the king," which is kind of the beginning of his arc. this season,
Mhm.
which was the best arc in the season for sure, easily. Damon's was the best, in my opinion.
Even though it wasn't the Damon we wanted.
No, but it was the Damon we needed. Like, this needed to happen, and a lot of people were complaining that he was in Harrenhal way too long, when I'm like, I'm loving the Harrenhal stuff, like, up until the very end, I'm like, "This is great." It's
I
so
will
good.
say the payoff was excellent. I got chills.
Yes. Oh, the payoff was fantastic, which is funny 'cause in The Crown, the TV show The Crown, he's, Queen Elizabeth's husband, Philip, and he also has to bend the knee. Matt Smith, the king that never was.
Oh, man.
So, yeah,
Which,
uh,
yeah, then that relationship between Rhaenys and Daemon now is shared, the king who never
right,
was and the queen who never was.
but he'll never get to talk to her about that.
Right.
Uh, so that kinda sparks that whole beginning where it's like Damon's really kind of trying to be the leader, and he's not really kind of letting Rhaenyra or kind of really admitting that Rhaenyra is the ruler, his ruler.
Yeah.
So that's kinda where that starts.
He
I
doesn't
just
wanna be commanded.
right. And I really love that this entire show, really, nothing is for granted, for the most part. Everything kinda has a purpose. Every interaction, conversation, every character you see has a purpose. So that's kinda cool. I like that. Um,
Yeah.
we get introduced to, a couple, what would you even call them? Workers, for on Driftmark.
Mhm.
These 2 characters, Alan and Adam, who
The
we find out are
ship
the
hands.
yes, ship hands. We find out they're the bastards of Corlys, Balarion, and that was a cool payoff in the end, but we kinda just got introduced to them. We can talk about them more later. Um, kinda some introductions to the Green I really liked all the Green Council scenes a lot. I thought they were all,
Yeah.
like, some of the best stuff in the season. Um,
I know which one was your favorite.
which one was my favorite? What do you mean?
Which council scene was your favorite? Aemond talking to Aegon.
Oh, yes, 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 that was fantastic, yes.
Yep.
Would like me to go to war? Or make
Uh,
a war? He said make a war.
make 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 war?
Make war? Um, so this is kind of where this season was more about the kids and kind
Yes.
of getting more into them. We saw a lot more on Aegon, we saw a lot more on Helena, Aemond, and Jace,
Oh,
and
but
Baela,
also Otto
Otto as
at
well,
the
who was
beginning,
pretty absent this season, which was
but
kind of a
at the
bummer.
beginning.
There's a really cool Otto scene. I think it's in episode 2. I don't believe it's episode 2 or 3 with Aegon, which is fantastic.
I think it's 3.
Yeah. But basically we really get an Aegon, and I didn't like Aegon in season 1, but I actually really enjoyed him, especially in the beginning half of this season. Um, it kind of made it was kind of like foreshadowing him to be more of a Joffrey at the end of season 1, but he wasn't. He was kind of unique. He he didn't know what he was doing. And he's kind of a dick, but he also
He's still
kind of
power hungry.
he wants to do a good job, like he does. He just doesn't know how.
Right.
um, but we see his son in the council scene, and it was kind of funny. Which again, it's kind of foreshadowing, but his little son, Jaehaerys, playing with the little council balls. He kept
Yes.
taking Tywin Lannisters, which was funny, and Aegon was just not paying attention at all. He was just laughing at Jaehaerys the entire time. I like that. It was a nice little human side. He actually cares about his sons, or his kids.
Right.
Um, so yeah, Aemond is on the council, and he's being all Aemond, all
He's
that stuff,
scheming.
scheming this entire season, scheming. with different people. But Kim and Kristen Cole are kind of scheming
Crispy
behind
Cole.
the scenes. Crispy Cole,
Crispy
and we
Cole.
also find out that Crispy Cole and Allison are getting it on, probably for some time,
Often.
because this happens. I think the season starts like 5 or 3 to 5 days after the death of Viserys in season 1. Um, and so it hasn't been that long. So they probably were banging before Viserys died, which is kind of important.
Oh, for sure.
Which is important to
I thought that was
her
confirmed.
character. I don't remember now. Um, but it's important because she was the upright, the righteous one who did everything correctly and purely and all that stuff, and then she did exactly what she hated Rhaenyra for.
Yep.
With the same guy too, which is so funny. Um, yeah, and then Aegon, we see him kind of as king. He's doing all these petitions and he's kind of promising a lot of things. And it was funny. Otto kept kind of walking up to him and be like, "We can't do that."
Yeah, we
Okay, sorry, we can't do that. Never mind. But he kept doing it over and over again, and then Aegon eventually was just like, "We need to care for the little people. The little people or the little folk are the ones who, you know, like I don't know what the words he used were, but like." We without them, we would be really nothing. So,
right.
and Otto's like,
There is nobody to
"Okay."
rule over if they don't want
Right. So Otto's like,
anything to do
"Okay,
with you.
I guess I'll let that one go." Um, so that was kind of interesting. We got to see Aegon, and he wasn't doing terribly, actually. But he's got some friends, and they're like teenagers, which is kind of fun. But they're just like guys, boys being boys, but they're not very mature. None of them are. Which later Aegon appoints them as King's guards, and they're just all really bad at it and fumbling and dropping their swords, and which is also kind of an important uh what's the word, like, comparison versus what Kristen Cole talks about earlier on in the
Mhm.
season. It's like a mirror.
Yeah.
Um so Allison and Otto are kind of realizing that they're getting less control over things. But we get more into that later. Again, we get the kind of uniting between Rhaenyra and Jace, and it's really nice. And we have a little funeral for Luke. And then Daemon takes things into his own hands. And
Classic.
classic Daemon. At the end, I think it the end of season 1 where she says, "I want Aemon Targaryen." No, that
Yeah.
was this episode. That was this
Yeah,
episode.
the end of the episode. It's her
She said,
first
"I want."
words. It's her first words in the episode.
Yeah,
At
"I
the
want
end.
Aemon Targaryen." Um, which, by the way, dude, she did a phenomenal job this season. She stepped it up a lot. She was really great. Overall, the acting was phenomenal on everybody's part except for the stupid white worm. I freaking hate her. Masera or whatever. She's stupid. Also, that kiss that they have, which we'll get to later,
Yeah, we'll get to that.
no
Hold
reason
on,
at
let me
all.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Sure,
Keep
sure,
going.
sure. Okay. So, um, Damon, he sneaks into King's Landing, and he was obviously the former Lord Commander of the City Watch. I guess it shouldn't be Lord Commander because the Lord Commanders of the King's Guard. So he was a commander of the City Watch, and so he obviously still. They were always very faithful to him, and so he still had some ins and some insiders, and so he got there. There was a former Gold Cloak who was loyal to him, and he tells him, um, by the way, this this gold cloak, his nickname is Blood. They find a rat catcher named Cheese. So these two guys are Blood and Cheese. That's kind of that's what they're called. And Massaria, whatever her name is, that was the chick I don't like, the white worm. She kind of recommended this guy, and he knows the ins and outs of King's Landing and also the Red Keep. And so Damon is like, I want you to assassinate Aemond. Without consulting with Rhaenyra. This was his own volition. He just decided this is what he wanted to do. And he gives them half the payment, half when they bring his head back. He wants his head. And they're like, what do we do if we can't find Aemond? And he's like, just smiles. And so this is the big controversy. It's kind of just assumed that he's like, because in the book, the chapter's called A Son for a Son, which is what the episode's called. And so I think it's implied that he just says a son for a son, and he's just like, any son will do. But they don't really try to find Aemond, which is funny. But basically, Blood and Cheese, they go in, and they know the place very well. They run into, by the way, earlier in the episode, Helena's weird, obviously, which she gets better. She's great at the end of the season. But she is a dreamer, so she like has visions of the future, kind of like a three-eyed raven, but a little different. I don't think she can go in the past like the raven. I think she just has visions of the future. But she also can have conversations with people, which is also weird. But I think that's the weirwood thing, so I don't know. Anyways, Helena earlier on was sewing a shawl, or not a shawl. What's something you put over a dead body? Whatever you call it.
I don't know.
She was sewing. She was knitting one of those things, sewing it, and in season 1, she predicted the dragon coming out of the ground, all that stuff. So she's a predictor. So it was kind of weird. It was like, what is she doing? But Blood and Cheese, by the way, Aemon and Kristen are scheming at this point. We see them scheming without Aegon. They're not telling Aegon. They're kind of planning their battles, which the big battle that they're planning is Rook's Rest, which we get to later. That was probably my favorite episode of the season. Actually, definitely was.
Yep.
And Blood and Cheese, they don't find Aemond because, again, he's with Kristen, but they don't really try. And they eventually find Helena's chamber, and she has two kids. So she has a son and a daughter, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera. Unfortunately, they kind of did it a little differently than the book, and they kind of did it better in the book, but there's basically two sons in the book. And so in this, they grab Helena, they have a knife to her throat, and they say, which one is your son? She points at Jaehaerys, and they literally saw his head off. You don't see it, but it's like very, you know what's going on.
It's jarring.
But she grabs the other kid and she runs off, and she runs into Alicent's chambers, and her and Kristen are fucking. And she knew, like, she wasn't phased at all, which was, she probably knew it was happening, but she said they killed the boy. That's how the episode ends. So in the book, there are two sons, Jaehaerys and I think it was Maelor. And Maelor is the younger son. Jaehaerys is the heir. And the Blood and Cheese, one of them has the knife on her, and they're like, which one do you want to kill? essentially. And she points at Baelor or Maelor. And then they're like, they kill the other son. And they tell Baelor, you hear that, boy? Your mother wants you dead. And so Baelor has to grow up knowing that, like, just hearing that, you know, and like that
Elena
his
picked
mother would, yeah, picked him to die because he wasn't the heir. So then he becomes the heir after Jaehaerys dies. The problem in this is now Aegon has no heir, at least male heir, which is you're running into the same issue, which they changed a lot of things, I guess, from the book. Some for good, some for worse, but basically you run into the same issue where it's like, okay, I can't really make my daughter my heir because then that would kind of give what's it would kind of mean that Rhaenyra should have been the heir then.
Yeah,
You know,
there's a crack in the line.
right. So then it's like, oh shit. Well, we're we're doing the same thing now, you know. So it kind of makes him less legitimate as an heir. So I don't know how they're gonna do that, honestly. But yeah, so that was the first episode. A little bit of a jarring start, kind of slow. But I thought it was pretty good overall. Going into episode 2. This episode called Rhaenyra the Cruel. And basically they're trying Otto's like, we can take advantage of this situation. It's okay. He's such a deal maker. He's like, we should make this put this on Rhaenyra. You need to go out and make a spectacle of his funeral. Make, get the little folks favor and make it more about Rhaenyra did this, and they're just like Aegon's pissed. And so while they're in the funeral, Aegon takes he kills Blood, which was
The rat
odd
catcher.
because no, not the rat catcher. Rat catcher is cheap.
Oh,
Blood
cheap.
is the gold cloak. And Blood, he like asked Blood. Blood just like spurts out. Oh, Daemon made me do it. But it's like, why would you carry a freaking child's head? Why wouldn't you just be like, like you don't really, I guess they like needed proof, but it's like you probably would have heard like news that the sons of Aegon's head got cut off, You probably don't want to walk around the Red Keep with a bag with a kid's head in it.
Right.
So they're not the brightest and they got caught. But Aegon doesn't really torture him. He just straight up kills him, which was interesting. But basically to take I guess get vengeance, Aegon kills every single rat catcher in the kingdom and hangs them all. And Otto's pissed. Simultaneously, we get the twins, right? Sir Eric and Eric. Kristen Cole is feeling very guilty because rather than protecting the king's kids, he was having sex with Allison. And he's overall just feeling super guilty about and ashamed of being the Lord, not only uh, having a cloak, that's supposed to be not stained, but he's also the Lord Commander of the King's Guard. He's supposed to be the example, and he's just like fooling around, and so he's just like he just projects all his shame on Sir Eric, which is the twin who's with Allison, and then the other twins with Rhaenyra. And he basically, Sir Eric had like some mud on his cape, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like you got to keep that clean. This represents our purity and our." And he's like, "I'll clean it after breakfast." He was like tired, like they'd been working hard because of stuff with the funeral, I think, and it was just like, oh man, Christy Cole's a dick, such a dick. But it's funny, everybody's like hating on the actor. I'm like, dude, he's doing phenomenal. Kristen Cole is one of my favorite parts of the season too. Like, he was great, and he just kept getting better.
Yeah. I think people are just giving him, like, the Joffrey treatment.
Right, yeah, or the Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he decides that in order to take things into to kind of fix his mistake, he says, Sir Arik, you're gonna have to go kill Rhaenyra, and you're gonna act like you're a twin. Then you're gonna go to Dragonstone. Doesn't consult anybody. He just decides this. They say that's that's what we're gonna do. We introduced to this guy Hugh, the blacksmith, who comes up later. So he's just a common folk, and he's got some white hair. He's got some blondish white hair. Interesting. Okay, and this is where we get the Otto scene. So Otto is pissed at Aegon, and he basically goes off on him, and Aegon is totally showing his ignorance, I was, like, I needed justice, and it's like, you idiot. You just screwed up everything we just like set in motion here. Like, you just poured it all down the drain. Like, everything we just did with the funeral and everything, you just wasted it all. So
Yeah.
Otto's pissed, and he's like, you can't talk to me that way. I'm the king. And Otto's like, shut the hell up, boy. He's like, you idiot, and he's yeah, he literally brands him an idiot. He literally calls him an idiot. So Kristen is like, you can't talk to that to the king. I kind of want to read this because so Otto stands. Okay, so yeah, so they lost all their sympathy, and they basically is like, we're gonna lose all our houses. That they're all gonna back Rhaenyra now. And he's like, you're just cruel and vindictive. And by the way, Aegon got rid of all of Viserys's Lego set, which was so sad that he worked so hard on. He just like destroyed it after his son died. Like, literally took a I don't even know what it was, a stick or something, just destroyed it all. And it was at this point Otto was like, Otto realized he fucked up. Otto like actually says like he basically he misses Viserys. Like he's like, oh, the good old days when we had Viserys. And
we didn't have to deal with all of this.
And he compares him, and Aegon's like, my father picked me as king. And Otto literally turns around, he's like, is that what you think? Which was like mic drop. It was so good. Which like the consequence, or I don't even know what the word is, like the implications, I guess, of this is that Otto didn't care what Viserys said to Alicent that night before when he died. Doesn't matter. It just it kind of helped him, but he was going to go about putting Aegon on the throne regardless of what Viserys said. So
right.
Even if Alicent truly thought that he wanted Aegon to be king, Otto knew there's no way that Viserys picked Aegon. So that's insane. I mean, it's kind of like Otto's. He's a sneaky little guy. He's a conniving little dude. And I kind of love him. he's kind of an awesome character. But he basically turns to leave, and Aegon's like, "I didn't tell you to leave." And he's like, "Excuse me." And one of the problems with Otto and Alicent is that they take their position for granted. They act like they're in charge, and they're kind of insolent.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks he can get away with anything. And he's like, "Yeah, you're not the hand of the king anymore. You were my father's hand. You are not my hand. So give me that. Give me the badge." And he reluctantly he's like, "Who could be the hand?" He's like, "Kristen Cole." And Kristen Cole's like,
Huh?
What? Wait, what? Me? This was not the day Kristen Cole thought he was gonna have. And nor does he think he's even qualified to be hand. But he's like, Kristen Cole did something. Or took action. He's like, I need to be king of action. He's like, Kristen Cole took action. He's like, what did Kristen Cole do? And I think he says it, and then Otto just like chucks the badge at Cole's feet, and then he leaves, and then he has a conversation with Allison. He's like, I gotta go home. I'm gonna go to Old Town. I need to like kind of basically secure Daron, which is Allison's younger son, who we haven't seen yet. Who's Daron the nice, I believe, the gentle. So he's actually a good green. He's actually a good green. He's Allison's best son, best kid. And so he's back at Old Town, and so he's just like, I'm gonna go there, and before he leaves though, they're like having a nice bonding moment, and Allison's like, I need to tell you something, and he's like, just don't. And it was just kind of sad because it's like Allison finally feels like she can be open with you, and you're just like, nah, I don't want to hear it. Sorry. Okay. So he leaves. And then she has sex with Crispin Cole again. And she like slaps him and she acts all mad at him, and then they start having sex. So that's that. But yeah, I really like this episode a lot. I really like the Otto parts. It really developed Kristen Cole and Aegon, and kind of I'm excited to see where Otto goes now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Who is that in the dungeons at the end?
Dungeons? What do you mean?
At the very, very end. They pulled someone out the dungeon.
I don't remember now. It's been a while. Yeah, I'm not sure. I forgot we did go back to Dragonstone. This might have been earlier actually in the episode. Yeah, I forget. Okay, so there was a scene on Dragonstone. They're basically the Black Council, and they get word that Jaehaerys died, and they're blaming Rhaenyra. And she's like, me? Well, how could I possibly, like, especially Helena's kids of all kids? Why would I do that? And she's like, that's like absurd. And like, who could have done it? And Rhaenys just like,
yeah, sorry. Otto Hightower was in a prison cell.
That's at the end of the show.
Yeah, but I thought he was going to get Darren.
He was going to Old Town, yeah.
Yeah, so why is he in prison?
We don't know yet. We have no idea. A lot of people are saying it's Lara Strong, because the fact that Aemond asked him to go find Otto to be Hand of the King, and Larys wanted to be Hand of the King. So we'll see.
Sorry, that was just...
No, you're good. So yeah, Rhaenys is just like, I know who did it. And she doesn't actually say anything, but she just looks at Daemon, and Daemon's like, sorry, what? And it's just kind of like, did she say anything? And then Rhaenyra just looks at Daemon, she like does a double take. She's like, no. And he's like, what? It's rare that there's humor in the show, but it was just a very funny little exchange of looks. No words were said. But yeah, so basically Rhaenyra they go off in private and they have a conversation. Rhaenyra's all pissed at him, and he's like, basically it wasn't supposed to happen that way, of course. He's trying to make all these dumb excuses. Daemon's effed up. And Rhaenyra's like, I need to know if you're on my side or your own side. Are you loyal to me? And he says nothing. And he like almost chokes her again, which he did in the first season, and he storms off. Basically, he's going to Highgarden or to Harrenhal, and he's like, I basically, like I've done nothing but serve you and everything, and it's like, okay, he needs to go do something that's like shows how much she needs him. He needs to prove to
Yeah.
her that she needs him. So he goes off to Harrenhal and spends the rest of the season there. And it's great. I like it. We still do some stuff with Bela, which whatever. I do like the relationships between Jace and Bela because like they actually like each other. There's actually a good relationship there, and they're betrothed. They're kind of open about the fact that he's a bastard of Harwin Strong, and she's like, it doesn't matter. There's kind of a theme of that throughout the whole season where he's like,
Right.
kind of hates the fact that he's a bastard, and he wants to know that there's something special about him, like he actually deserves his spot, as especially as heir. And then there's a little scene at the end of back at Driftmark where we meet Adam, the younger brother Alan, and there's a little stuff about that.
One's bald. I wonder
yeah.
why.
Right. He keeps shaving his head for some reason.
Hmm.
So it's episode 2. Episode 3, The Burning Mill. So this episode had a great opening, a banger of an opening. Probably my favorite opening of this season, where basically we see House Bracken and House Blackwood. These guys are like the Hatfield and McCoys of Westeros. They hate each other, and they're
the
in
Riverlands.
Yeah, so they're in the Riverlands. They're all under House Tully. So they're kind of smaller houses. They're just trying to find a reason to brawl and to kill each other. And so Blackwood has what's the word? Vouched or bent the knee.
Pledged.
Yeah. They've pledged to Rhaenyra. House Bracken has pledged to Aegon. And so they're like fighting about it right at the beginning. And you see these two groups that are just like the stupidest things. Like, you took my land. And I was like, it was a dumb reason. And then they get in a fight. And then it just, next scene, and it's just a bunch of dead bodies. And there's a mill. So it's called the burning of the mill. And it's just like thousands of dead Brackens and Blackwoods. Pretty insane opening. Very shocking. If you didn't know it was coming, it was it was interesting. So yeah, that was kind of a fun opening. But we get introduced to those houses, which are kind of important this season, especially with Daemon. So let's see. So Daemon gets to Harrenhal, and it's like a spooky Halloween castle. And it's like you can't find anybody. He like pulls it's like weird. He's using his sword as kind of like a gun, like looking around corners, He's like
Yeah.
he's like what do you call it? When SWAT come in and they like check all the rooms. Clear. They're clearing it, right?
We're just clearing
Like
the corners.
Daemon was
Yeah.
clearing the corners with his sword, which was kind of funny. But he's ready to like basically kill anybody. And he finds nobody. He's like, where the frick is it? It was like Conor McGregor. Where the fuck is everyone? And he opens like the doors to the hall, and what do we see? Another one of my favorite characters in the show, Simon Strong, who's the great uncle to Laris Strong and Harwin Strong. Fantastic character. He's kind of like this, like, innocent, kind of like you couldn't hurt a fly, he's just kind of there, but he's really smart, and he's just trying to be helpful. He's just really trying to be helpful. And he's like, "Oh, welcome." He's like, "I'm taking the castle." He's like, "It appears so." Uh,
Yeah.
and, so, basically, he's like, come sit. We're having dinner," you know? He's like, "I'm not eating this, you know, you're probably poisoned." He's like, "Okay. Sure, okay." So, yeah, so we that's our introduction. Um, he bends the knee really quickly, and, Damon, uh basically, he questions Simon's, um, declaring for Rhaenyra, and he kind of d tries to be like, you know, "Pledge to me," you know? Like, I'm the king. But we get more into that later. Um Oh, yeah, it literally says, "Simon inadvertently annoys Damon by addressing him as my prince, for which Damon corrects him with your grace," asserting his title as Rhaenyra's king consort. But he doesn't really say king consort, he's just, "You call me your grace." And he's like, okay, sure. All right, I'll call you that." And he's like, basically he's there because he needs to uh use Harrenhal as the place so he can get the Riverlands, you know, so he can get the troops. Um, so he wants to talk to Grover Tully, who's the Lord Paramount of the Trident, as he's called. Um, Basically, he's in charge of the Riverlands, and he's basically like, yeah, he's an old man. He's not gonna be able to do anything, but you could talk to his son. Uh, what's his son's name again? Um, I forget. But we'll get to him later. Um, so his first night there, things start going a little weird. Um, Damon starts seeing things, which is a big thing for him because in season one we learned that he doesn't believe in all the mumbo jumbo spells and witches and all that magic stuff. Like, he didn't believe any of it, and he even like that's why he choked Rhaenyra. He's like, none of this is real. You know, my brother was crazy. This, you know, when she talks about the Song of Ice and Fire. So this Damon's getting a taste of his own medicine. He's like, what the hell is going on? And what the hair in hell?
What the hair in hell is going on here?
uh, Weird stuff's happening. And he basically finds this woman. He's like, who the heck are you? And she's like, I'm an owl. I'm a barn owl.
Ooh, ooh.
Woot woot. Um, but he basically Damon is okay. So yeah, so he has a vision. He finds a younger Rhaenyra stitching her nephew Jaehaerys's head back on, which was a little disturbing. He's then yeah, so then he wakes up in the Weirwood Heart Tree in Harrenhal's Godswood, looking out into the God's Eye. And that's where we get to meet this lady who is Alice Rivers, and Rivers is the bastard name for bastards in Riverlands.
But she's clearly a strong.
You know what I totally forgot too? The fight between Arik and Eric. That was literally episode 2.
Oh yeah.
Totally forgot about that. So that was interesting. Yeah. So they like basically the twins, like Arik tries to kill Rhaenyra, and then they run into each other, and then they fight to the death. One of them dies. It's
And
kind
the
of
other
implied,
knows that Rhaenyra can't trust him.
right? So he literally stabs, and he's also kind of mourning the fact that he had to kill his brother. So he literally falls onto his sword, which is crazy, by the way, because like I've always heard that term, like that phrase in like the Bible and like other medieval things falling onto a sword, but I've never seen it.
Yeah. He literally did.
He literally just put it down and fell into his sword. Crazy.
Yeah,
Gutted him.
that was, like, one of the best scenes of the show too, because like, you could see in his eyes that it was the
Yeah.
good Eric, the good
Right.
twin, but
Eric.
he
Yeah.
knew that he couldn't live with himself for
Right.
killing his brother, but also that Rhaenyra would never trust him the same, and so
Right.
he was just like, I'm out."
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Pretty
they were
crazy.
buried together.
They were buried together, and that happened in this episode. And we get some stupid conversation between Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, and it's like Rhaenys, she's so annoying. She's so annoying. She actually is probably one of the worst characters in the show. I felt a little bad for the thing that happens to her in a couple episodes, but I felt bad more for the dragon, honestly.
Yeah.
She's basically I don't even know what she says exactly.
Is this where she just, like yeah.
Yeah, I think she was basically saying like you gotta like rein yourself in, kind of. She was giving her all the bad advice that everybody else was like, "What are you doing? You need to take action," you know. And she kept saying stuff like that, and it's like, bruh, you could have ended this whole war, and the fact that you killed hundreds of people and don't bat an eye, and like you could have made that worth it by killing the greens, but you didn't.
Yep.
So, like, you're silly. You should not be advising Rhaenyra. But anyways, yeah. So there's some stuff going on. Rhaenyra meets Massaria, the White Worm, and they develop that relationship way too quickly. Way too quickly.
Well, she doesn't meet her. She finally confides in her because Masari was the one that tipped off Eric's infiltration.
Yes, because she was gonna send her away. She was gonna
Yeah.
send her away.
Right.
Yeah, but she just it's just the fact that she trusts her way too quickly. You know.
Right.
Sea Smoke's flying around, so they're like he needs a rider.
He's getting a little stir crazy.
Little stir crazy, and then she summons her stepdaughter Rhaena, who got a hair reduction this season, to tell her that she's sending her and her three sons, Joffrey, Aegon, the third, whatever, Aegon and Viserys, to Jane Eyre and the Eyrie, and then from there they're going to be going to Pentos. And along with her, she's going to be sending 3 dragon eggs, or 4 dragon eggs, actually. 4 dragon
There were
eggs.
4. Yeah.
Or 4. And of course, we find out that those are 3 of those eggs are Daenerys's dragons. Way in
Drogon,
the future. Rhaegal.
Rhaegar, and it starts with a V. Vice. Is it? It's not Viserys.
I always forget the
It starts with a V.
third one's the one that the Night King takes.
Yeah.
Rhaegal becomes Jon's. Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, they're named after the
Viserion.
They're named the Drogon's named after Khal Drogo. Rhaegal is named after her brother Rhaegar Targaryen, and the other one's named after her other brother, the one who Drogo killed. Dany's dragon.
I was really just looking it up. Viserion.
Viserion, yeah. There you go.
Named after Viserys, yeah.
Viserys Targaryen, yeah. Yep. So, yeah. Anyways, so those are her dragons. They did end up in Pentos, so that makes sense. We also find out this season that Daenerys is the descendant of Daemon and Rhaenyra,
Mhm.
which is pretty cool. But yeah, so they go do that.
Little
Rhaena's
Easter
entire
egg.
arc, I'll just tell you right now, Rhaena's entire arc is her trying to find a dragon. She's pouting because she doesn't have a dragon. The last
Yeah.
episode is literally just scene after scene of her running around trying to find. It was so stupid. I'm like, what do
She's,
you
like, dirty. She's got,
get
like,
to the
coal and
point?
ash on her face.
I know. But the dragon was cool at the end.
Yeah. Sheep stealer?
Sheep stealer, yeah. Yeah, sheep stealer. But anyway, so that's her entire story. That's really all we need to say about her, honestly.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
let's see. Is there anything else that major this episode?
Yeah, isn't this where Yeah, this is where Rhaenyra goes, AWOL.
Is it?
Mhm.
Wait, what did she do?
Larys is doing Larys things. He's, you know, putting pieces in places.
Well, before we get
Um,
to that, because there's
yeah, oh,
what does
I'll
Rhaenyra
get to
do?
that too. Huh?
What
At
does
the end?
Rhaenyra do?
At the end, she
Well,
goes
okay. So we still got some stuff then before that.
right, right. But you were saying as it like if there was nothing else going on.
Well, okay, yeah, okay, all right. Sorry. Okay. Um, I guess back to Damon. Okay, so basically they find out they're going to Rook's Rest. Okay, actually this might be the episode. Kristen Cole not doing great as Hand of the King.
He's got his first meeting.
He's totally nervous about it. He's not really doing great. And Amond, I believe this is Yes. Okay, so he already says, yeah, the war's already started. We're
Yeah.
going to Rook's Rest. And Aegon's like, wait, what? You just did this without me? Yeah,
You want
pretty much.
me make war?
You want me to make war? And yeah, this is where it kind of gets confusing. So Aegon wants to go basically on Sunfire, but they tell him he can't. So Kristen turns to Aegon for support. Aegon to satisfy the merchant of war again because his intention. Yeah, we must have missed something here, but yeah, essentially Aemon totally embarrasses Aegon in front of his entire council because Aemon's kind of he should be king. You know, he's the true Targaryen. He knows High Valyrian. He actually takes it seriously. He's got the big dragon, and Aegon is kind of just playing a Targaryen. He doesn't know High Valyrian very well, and he kind of just gets sat down. You know. We also meet Ulf. Ulf claims to be a bastard. Yeah, Ulf. He claims to be a bastard son of Balon Targaryen, and half brother to Daemon and Viserys. And it's kind of like he's probably joking around, you know. He's probably not actually, because he's really just kind of milking it. You know what?
So they send out so Kristen and Aemond are enacting their plans that they were planning earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And basically they're marching because they realize that Harrenhal is an important piece. And so they're kind of doing some recon and sending out some forces to the Riverlands.
Yes.
And so they send them out and Aegon's like, "But guys, what about me?" And they're
Right.
like, "Nah, you should stay. And he's like, but no, I've got this fancy, cool set of armor.
We also
Please.
meet Gawain
Yep.
Hightower, who's the son of Otto, brother of Alicent.
Allison. Yep.
He's pretty
Who
cool,
is
but he
suspicious.
doesn't like Kristen Cole.
I
Doesn't like,
wonder why.
yeah.
Yep.
We'll find more about that later.
And then yeah, and
Oh,
then Ulf
that's
Ulf is claims to be son of Balon Targaryen
yes.
or
So I
Balin.
forgot the previous episode. We must be on episode. I'm like mixing up my episodes now, but
This is 3. This is
this is
episode
3.
3.
Okay. What was the episode where Aegon finds Aemond in the brothel?
2.
That was 2. Okay. Yeah. So he finds him in the brothel and he's all curled up and with his first, the first person he had sex with. And Aegon makes fun of him. And it's at this point, Aemon's like, I ain't dealing with this anymore. He just gets up and he's like butt naked. They literally show his dick.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, you can't hurt me anymore, basically, And so that was also kind of, I mean, like they showed seeds of this in season 1 where he's like, I would be king if they asked me to be king.
Right.
So he's just kind of hates his brother.
Yep.
And so he's like, this is kind of sowing the seeds for something that happens pretty soon. But anyways, so at the very end of this episode 3, then.
Well, hold on. We've got Kristen and Gawain going out
Yeah,
scouting, and they go out in the open,
that's right.
and
That's right.
turns out that Moondancer and Bela are scouting it out.
Right, which was kind of weird how they would have seen that. Like, okay, you see some armor glimmering, cool, but like, how do you know that they're bad guys?
Yeah, how do you yeah.
Why would you just race
Which
down
would
there?
explain why she didn't just decimate the forest because, like, trees don't stop dragons.
Yeah, true.
Because she didn't know, she just saw
She
and
saw
then they
Chris.
ran, and then they
Yeah,
ran, so it was like, well, obviously, something's not right, so,
right. It was a cool scene. I like that.
yeah,
You could see the dragon way up there in the sky. It showed some cool perspective, but
yeah,
um,
yep, and
yeah,
then we
like
get to the end of the episode.
let me get to the end of the episode, which was bizarre, but also it kind of worked.
I kinda liked it.
Kind of worked. Yeah, I liked it too. Rhaenyra decides to slip into King's Landing disguised as a septa, accompanied by Sir Stefan. And she knows she has a hunch, I guess, that Alicent will be there because Alicent's always there. Luckily, it pays off. And she
She
goes up
gets
to
that
Alicent.
information from Miss Arya.
Correct. Yeah. And doesn't tell anybody where she's going, which was a stupid idea, except for
Except for Stefan.
Sir Stefan. And she pulls a knife on Alicent, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Let's start over." Sorry, I started bad. And she basically wants everybody, all her Black Council is trying to tell her to go to war, and she wants to make sure because she's like, I inherited 80 years of peace from my father. I don't want to end that if I don't want to start a war if I don't have to. She's like, I'm gonna. This is basically my last chance to make things right. And Alicent is like, he wanted Aegon to be king, and she basically quotes him, and she's like, wait, I'm sorry, what? He told you the Song of Ice and Fire, Aegon the Conqueror, and she's like,
Uh,
sorry, what?
I
Aegon
I
the
thought she
Conqueror?
I thought you was talking about my son, Aegon.
He literally goes like,
Like,
oh,
are you serious right now?
right. And so it's at this point she knew. um, but Allison's like, it doesn't matter though. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm wrong. The men of both sides already started, like, they both want war, and
Yep,
it's gonna happen whatever, regardless. It was already gonna
yep,
happen. It doesn't matter. And so it's at this is the turning point for Allison's character where she's like, I really don't matter in this scenario anymore. Like nothing I do will impact anything, and like it's kind of pointless for me to do anything anymore.
And it
But this is
sucks
kind of
too. It sucks too knowing what happens in Thrones with Aegon Targaryen, the prince who
yeah,
was promised. So,
right. Hmm. So yeah, episode ends there. Rhaenyra gets away, and that's episode 3. Episode 4.
I think I'm gonna have to call it there.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll go through the rest in a couple weeks. When do you get back?
26th?
Okay, so yeah, so can you do the 27th?
Yeah, I should be able to.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll pick up again on the 27th. So next week we'll be back with something. I don't know what yet. And then the week after that, the 29th is when ROP season 2 comes out. So the
I
week
haven't
first.
seen 1. Do I need
That's
to
all
watch
right.
that?
You know what? Nerdrotic dropped basically a compilation video of all his reviews of season 1. So just go watch that. It's like an hour and 43 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And that'll be a better way to watch it anyways, because you get his commentary.
Perfect.
So yeah. So yeah, we'll be back with House of the Dragon in 2 weeks. Yeah. So I don't know what we're gonna talk about next week, but we'll talk about something. As we do. Yeah, thanks for anybody who watches this. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell. We're live every Tuesday. I've been kind of slacking on the videos, but it's just a fun hobby we do. So, watch it if you want to watch it. If not, oh well. But go check out our Discord. We do talk on there, and we watch stuff together. So come check that out, and follow us on socials. Again, I'll be at Fan Expo Chicago this weekend, so I'll be posting some stuff on our Instagram, so you can go check that out. I think it's at talking_nerds, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we'll catch you next time, guys. Peace.
Yeah. Peace.